Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for TruckLogics webinar, the Introduction to TruckLogics. We're going to give it just a couple more minutes to see if anyone else is traveling along before we get started. So get comfortable and we'll start here in just a second. All right, guys. So it is 2:02, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. This is an Introduction to TruckLogics webinar. So we're just going to go over some of the basics. I think a lot of you guys on here are either currently on a trial TruckLogics, or you may have tried TruckLogics in the past, for whatever reason didn't work, and maybe you're coming back to take another look at it. One thing we pride ourselves on is we do constantly update the program based off of what we're hearing from people. So if you are coming back and taking another look, we're happy to give you guys another shot at a free trial. And if you see something you like here, that's awesome. If you have any questions at the end, we'll do a little question and Q&A session to go over any questions you guys might have. Just before we get started, if you're new to GoToMeeting, which is what we're using for this, there's a control panel, should be on the right-hand side of your screen, and you have a couple options there. By default, you're muted, so I can't hear you as we go through the presentation, but at the end of the presentation, when we do the Q&A session, there's a little raise your hand option. If you click on that, I will unmute you and let you ask your question, and we can talk over the webinar and go over your question together. The other option is there is a questions box. So if you have any questions as we go through the webinar, you can type your question in there, and I will answer that at the end of the webinar for everyone as well. If you're not comfortable with either of those options, you're more than happy to contact us after the webinar. We can schedule some one-on-one time with you if we need to and answer any questions over the phone after the webinar as well. All righty. All right, so just a little introduction to TruckLogics. My name is Brian. I'm the TruckLogics product manager. If you do call in, you'll probably talk to me, or most likely Andy is my partner in crime. That helps you guys with any questions you have, so please don't hesitate reaching out to us. TruckLogics was officially launched in 2015, and it's been kind of in, I wouldn't say beta phase, but we have been building the program just based off of the feedback we've got for our customers. So we're really anticipating TruckLogics kicking off in 2019 strongly, and we're excited to have anyone on board who wants to join us for the ride. So I'm glad you guys are here today. These are just some of the other products from our parent company, Span Enterprises. We do have a suite of products in the trucking industry. Express Truck Tax is our premier product. It's the e-filing platform for the Highway Use Tax Form 2290. So if you do own a truck, you guys are probably familiar with your 2290 and having to do that every year. So we are the industry leader to help you get that e-filed. So you can actually contact us to do that through Express Truck Tax. It's super affordable, super easy solution to get that hassle out of the way. Of course, TruckLogics here in the middle. Express IFTA, which is actually a legacy product that's actually built into TruckLogics. So if you're looking to use TruckLogics for an IFTA solution, that's a great tool for that. And then down here are some of our other products, the tax-related products. We can assist you if you have employees. We can assist you generating W-2s and 1099s for employees or contractors. We also have some other tax forms you can e-file with us through this Tax Bandits product. And here's just some of our other PayWow is an up-and-coming product. It's a payroll platform as well. So just a little bit about us. For today's webinar, there's a few points I want to go over with you guys. I try to take this opportunity to go over things that maybe aren't as obvious when you first sign up for your trial and you're testing out the product. Just a few things you may not pick up on right away that you may be looking for. Number one, we're going to go over loads versus dispatches in the program. So if you have played around with it, you know there's two separate modules, loads and dispatches. They are actually very similar, and we're going to talk about if you really need to do both or if you could get away with just doing one or the other. Another thing that comes up a lot is the number system that TruckLogics uses as you put your loads in. So you can do what's our automated numbering system that kind of just generates the number or we do have a manual option, which we'll talk about. If you have drivers, you can use TruckLogics for driver settlements. It's a great feature we offer. And what comes up a lot is people like to pay their drivers weekly or bi-weekly, what have you. So we're going to go over how to do that if that's something you're interested in. And then one thing that's come up this week in particular a couple times was invoicing multiple invoices to a direct customer. So if you have a customer you invoice, work directly with, and you may invoice him once every month or once every couple of weeks, I'm going to show you guys how to do that. And then if you are a leased operator joining us, what we'll try to dive into that a little bit is we have a leased operator package. It's kind of completely different than what we're going to look at today. But if you like what you see here and you signed up for the leased operator package, or maybe vice versa, we'll talk about that. You can contact us. We're happy to let you try both versions because they are quite different, just depending on your needs. Leased operator package is just a little more simplified. So if that's more along the lines of how you operate under another carrier, feel free to reach out to us about that, and we can kind of go through that with you as well. And last but not least, we do have a promotion running this month for Thanksgiving, and that ends tomorrow, so we'll go over that as well. All right. So we're going to dive into the program. Alrighty guys, so here is TruckLogics. This is my test account, so this is actually an account for a small fleet. So if you do have, if you're an owner-operator, sign up for the owner-operator package or any other fleet packages, by and large it looks the same. One of the main differences is the fleet packages give you driver accounts. So if you do have drivers, you want to be able to communicate with them through the mobile app. You want to be able to share check call updates with them through the mobile app, have them add expenses for you, have them view settlement details that you're paying them through the app. There's a chat feature in there as well. There's a bunch of document scanning capabilities, that kind of stuff. That's only available from one of the fleet packages. So keep that in mind. I know some guys are one owner-operator with one driver, and you can technically get away with the owner-operator package, but if you do want that separate login that kind of puts some limits on what your driver can see, you have to be in one of the fleet packages. So that's the main difference. What we're looking at here is just our dashboard. And this is just a quick snapshot of what you have going on currently with your business. You can see your dispatches that are, you can kind of view active, assigned, or delivered. You have loads down here. And again, we're going to go over active dispatches versus loads here in a second. You have any open invoices. You can look at past due invoices as well here. And then any kind of upcoming maintenance or past due maintenance. This nice little reminder here for you, then you can check these off as you take care of them and record the expense for that and so on. So the main thing we do want to go over is the loads versus the dispatches. So the way the program is designed, loads is to be your data entry point. So you put your information in as a load. So where you're picking up the load, where you're dropping off the load, who you're billing, who you're invoicing, and what you're charging for the load basically. And then that creates a load for you. And from there, you handle kind of all your billing information on the load side of the program. So your invoice, you have this load financial section, which is great over here. They can break down for you any loads that maybe you forgot to invoice. Status-wise. But then you also have dispatches. And dispatches is really everything after, it's designed to be really everything after the billing module. So from dispatches, you have, again, your locations are here that you added. You have more mileage information. You can view all your different routing and update your routing as you go. You can do your driver payments, all your expenses per load, per trip, all your communication with your driver. So really just everything after the invoice portion is kind of separated out. Now, if you look at the program, you might kind of question, why you have both. The main reason you would want to have both is if you're doing any kind of LTL type freight hauling. So you have like partial loads you're taking, and you have different customers you're billing for each segment of that partial load. So if that's your scenario, then by all means you want to do loads, and then you want to dispatch those loads separately, because that allows you to get all of your routing organized the way it needs to be, since you're constantly picking up different partial loads. But if not, if you're just doing full truckload over the road, trucking, you could most likely get away with just skipping loads altogether. And you can do what's called a quick dispatch, and kind of save yourself a step. So you can go add new here, or you can go into dispatches and click the new dispatch button. If you click add new and just go directly into dispatches, here you have create dispatch for existing load. So that's traditional, maybe LTL. And then if you just want to create a dispatch without referring to the loads, you'll notice it's really the same process. So all we're doing, looks exactly like the load entry page. We have our dates up here. Another important thing a lot of people miss is how important the dates are. So if I was backdating some information, you would want to update this date. But we'll say I'm picking up this trip today, so we'll leave this date here. And then you have your customer carrier broker. So this section here is just who you're billing. And a lot of times you guys are working with brokers, so I have some in here already. You can add reference numbers, different account numbers. If you have an agent on file you work with, this is really great to add the agent, because you can communicate documents with them later in the program. And then down here, shipper and consignee is where we're picking up and dropping off. So I already have some locations saved here, which makes it easy. Anytime you add a new contact, it's saved. So next time you don't have to re-add their address and their information. Down here is just pickup instructions. So anything you would want to share with the driver, BOL number, contact information, any notes or reference numbers, all of this you can share with the drivers through the mobile app, which I encourage you guys to look at if you haven't downloaded the app, or had any of your drivers download the app. Make sure you kind of play around with that. And then same thing over here, we can add our drop location. And for our purpose, I'll just do point A to point B, make it simple. You can add multiple pickups or multiple drops. You just use this save and add another option. And so you can have really as many pickups and drops as you want, and organize those as needed. Then you have some freight details. If you're in a situation where you want this on your invoice, or you want to create a bill of lading, if you do add freight details, it will create a bill of lading for you later in the program that you can utilize for your needs. Also, you have your trailer details. If you're maybe an intermodal or in a situation where you're using a bunch of different trailers, you could utilize this. It's all optional. And the main thing is just your rate. So I'll just do a flat $1,000 for this. You can do per mile, and that's where this mileage comes into play over here, for example. And this is really just to kind of give you a reference point when you're adding the load in. So you have Google Maps, which is pretty standard, but Pro Miles is your truck-specific routing. So that's going to be probably more accurate for your needs if you want to get an idea of what kind of miles this trip's going to be, especially if you're billing on a per mile basis. But we'll leave this at flat. Then you can add things, accessorials, surcharges if you wanted. Maybe you had a detention that you were charging for. A lot of times if you're working with a broker, they have you need to do a quick pay option, so you can add that here as a discount, maybe like a 5%, for example. Now, if you are factoring, that's different, and you can manage that on your invoice. But if it's a quick pay scenario, the discount works good for that. And then down here, this is where we get to the main difference between if you just added the load or added the dispatch directly, is you're assigning the driver at the same time. So if you do loads, you stop right here, and then it takes you to the invoice, and then you dispatch and do everything after. If you're just doing a dispatch, it saves you a step, and you're already assigning your driver. So especially if you're just an owner-operator, one or two guys, who's going to haul this, and so you can assign them right here. There's some notify options. I recommend, again, the mobile app. If your driver is using the mobile app, they get a push notification as well if they have the app installed. So you have these notification options, but they should also be pinged on the device, letting them know they've been assigned to a load. And then you just pick your truck and trailer down here if you have one, and you create it. Okay, and now instead of going to a load summary and then to a dispatch summary, we are directly in our dispatch summary, and all we've done is thrown the invoice in here. So all your stuff is right here now. You don't have to go reference loads and then reference dispatches. Everything's under dispatches here for you. So that is something you guys, you may want to play around with. You're still on your trial and see kind of what works better for you. I've found it's kind of just a preference as far as how you manage things. If you want to do loads and then dispatches, or if you just want to skip straight to dispatches. But the main data entry part of the program is still the same. Just kind of simplifies it and condenses it for you if you just do a dispatch directly. The other thing we wanted to talk about were the numbers. So this account is set up on an auto-generated dispatch number, and you can change that. Just note, once you go from automated to manual, it's not as easy to go back. We can do it. You just have to contact us to do that. But I do recommend using the manual load number or dispatch number, just because you can match that up with whatever your customers are giving you. So I know a lot of times your customer will give you a pro number, a load number. You can set that to match that exactly, so that if you're later trying to reference a load that you entered in the program, it's real easy to find it just based off of the number that you listed the load with. But some people like to have an automated number that just is like an internal tracking system. They don't have to worry about the number. You can put the other stuff in the reference fields. So again, that's a preference, but I've found it makes it easier to search for things if you do set your numbers manually. If you want to try that out, you can go into your settings. And for loads, dispatches, and invoices, you have those options. So these all three have their own number sequence. So we can go in here and we just simply switch it from automatic to manual, and then you just set it manually every time. The other thing about just using maybe dispatches instead of loads and dispatches is you have one less number to worry about, because you don't really need, you don't have a load number to reference. You just have your load number be your dispatch number, and you just have one number to reference, and then maybe you have an internal number, going automatically for your invoice number, if you wanted to. A lot of people like to try to match all three numbers using the automated system. You can do that at first. The problem you'll most certainly run into at some point is that one of your numbers will be off, and that's because you may have canceled a load or a dispatch or an invoice, and then not canceled one of the other two. And once you cancel a number, for example, if you cancel an invoice or void it out, the next invoice you create is going to jump up a number. So now all of a sudden you have a load number and an invoice number that's one off, and that's not as easy to correct unless you're doing something manually. So that's definitely one benefit of doing the manual numbers. The other benefit, as I mentioned, is just it makes it simpler for you to match things up with what you're actually getting from your customer or your broker. So that's the main difference there. I'm going to jump back into this dispatch we just created, and we're going to look at the invoice. So for each load or dispatch you create, you're going to have an invoice automatically created or populated. I wouldn't say it's created per se. It comes in throughout the program. Once you finalize your invoice, that's going to start counting the numbers on the invoice as far as revenue towards your accrual accounting, which is in your reporting. And then once you get the marked invoice paid, then it's going to count into your cash reporting, so that just lets you know that you had money in hand, and accruals more along the lines of you're expecting to get paid, and you want to kind of see that number in your reporting needs. So that's the different statuses. But one thing I mentioned in the intro is that sometimes you have a customer that is just a direct customer you work with a lot, and you may just invoice that customer once a month or once every couple of weeks. If you have that kind of situation, you don't want to really create this invoice every time you put a load in here, because you're going to want to invoice them at the end of the month or however you're doing it. So if that is your scenario, you're going to ignore this invoice tab per load or per dispatch. And whenever you're ready to invoice that customer, let me just see this with Coyote. Okay. So whenever you are ready to invoice that customer, you would go to Accounts and then go to Invoices. And once you get to Invoices, you're going to see there's this Add Invoice button here. And this Add Invoice button is if you're in that scenario where you're billing a bunch of invoices at one time to a single customer. So you can click on Add Invoice. And then this was Coyote. Just look up your customer, broker. Coyote. And all of your uninvoiced loads or dispatches will be here waiting for you. So if that's how you operate, where you just do billing, once a month or once every couple of weeks, I would recommend ignoring your invoice, as you go, and then when you're ready to do your billing, come into Accounts and create one invoice that has all your open loads on it. So, if you were doing this once a month, you would have all your loads for that month already waiting here. It breaks down the locations, the line haul, and then you can add on other things here as well. And then you have just one invoice you're sending over. And with the attached documents, you can upload in here as well. So, and then you can uncheck these even if this one's older, so maybe I don't want to do that one. And that's the easiest way to do that. And that's just something that's popped up a little bit here lately, so I wanted to make sure we go over that, because that's not as easy to see if you're just getting started how that works. Along those lines, the settlements kind of works the same way. So I'm going to go back to our dispatch. So for each dispatch, if you do have drivers, there's going to be a settlement section right here. And very similar to the invoice, this is already populated. I have my driver's pay percentage already set. And when I added the driver to the account, I already know what I pay him. I have my detention marked for him here as well. If I'm charging him for that, I can add on things, deduct things. So if you're wanting to just pay him for this single trip, you just save and finalize or make payment on this one trip, and then you can send him a settlement. And basically, just to show you what it looks like, pull it up here. Oh, this is the email you can use to send it. See, it's already got my driver's email on file. And then here's just a little brief email telling them this is your settlement for this load here. But if you want to see what it looks like, hit the wrong button. Here it is. So this has got your logo if you added that in your settings, your information, driver's information, and details about what you're paying them for. So just a nice tool to kind of keep some transparency with your drivers, your contractors, and you just cut a check with this and give this to them. Now, if you're in a situation where you want to pay them weekly, all you want to do for each trip is make sure you finalize this dispatch. To finalize this settlement. So that's basically stating here, I agree, this is what I want to pay the driver for this load. I've finalized it, and then at the end of the week or whenever you're going to pay drivers, you come into Accounts and you go to Driver Settlements. And then all of your finalized dispatches or settlements will be here. So I have these two for this driver here. Hopefully these are for the past week, and I can make a payment right here. And just like the invoices, I can check off. I can select the period I'm looking for as far as based on the pickup time or delivery time. And then I can combine these loads into a single settlement. All his reimbursements are here, all his deductions are here. And then I can add on other things if I'm helping them with insurance or a truck payment or anything like that. Add that stuff on here and add deductions, and then save, say, a check and reference if you want, and then just save. Oh, I do not want to do a period. Okay, save. And then I'm going to have one settlement for this driver with multiple loads on it. So again, that's just something else that a lot of people utilize. It's just not as easy to get a grip on if you're new to the program as far as how to do that. So I can go in here to view my driver settlements, and the one at the top should be the one I just did. If I want to email it, I can do that again, print it out. Here's what it looks like. The same as before, but now I have 2 loads on here, and I can put as many loads on here as I want, and it combines everything together. And I have a single settlement I can pay him with weekly or bi-weekly or however often I want to do that. Okay. Let me see, is there anything else that I wanted to talk about today? Weekly settlements, invoicing, automated numbers. So that's a lot of the main stuff here. I just see we have a question. Now, the other thing I do want to briefly mention is the lease operator package. So we do have a different package. I'll try to sign in quickly to that. And if you are leased on to a carrier, and maybe you don't need everything that we just went over, it's worried about invoicing or paying drivers or anything like that, we do have a leased operator package. It's much simpler. It's kind of a completely different program if you look at it. It's really more of an accounting tool and tax preparation tool. So you have a nice graph that shows you, profit and loss month to month. And here you can add settlements that your carrier's paying you. We do work with some carriers for some settlement integration where this kind of stuff will pull in automatically. And then really you just download the TruckLogics app on your phone, and you can add all your just expenses, because really everything still as an owner-operator, even leased onto a carrier, you're going to be taxed like a business owner, and really almost everything you buy is tax deductible, and you need a way to keep up and track that. So you can use our app to do that, capture all your receipts, and kind of help you stay organized. And then you have some reporting, profit and loss reporting. There's also this miles per diem, so if you do want to calculate cost per mile, revenue per mile, you can track how many miles you're driving each day. And you can even add your per diem expense, which is huge. If you are sleeping in your truck, that's a huge deduction you can claim at the end of the year. And we can log that all in here and pull these into your profit and loss. So a little bit different program. If maybe you signed up for the wrong version, so you're in the owner-operator, but maybe you think you need the lease operator, or vice versa, just contact us. We can switch you over. I just kind of did want to point that out to you guys, and just let you know this does exist if maybe you signed up for the wrong one. And I think that is mostly what we wanted to go over today. The other thing I did want to mention briefly is we do have a promotion going this month. We're feeling thankful for all our users, and we have a Thanks 20 promotional code. So that expires tomorrow. So if you are currently on a trial, or you want to come back and give TruckLogics another shot, you can use that code. It'll actually give you 20% off your monthly subscription for the next 12 months. So that's a huge deal, a huge deal. I mean, that's a great savings if you want to take advantage of that. And just keep in mind that promo code does expire tomorrow, so you'd have to use it by tomorrow if you want to take advantage and subscribe. But I just wanted to point that out to you guys, and anyone who's really interested in TruckLogics and wants to move on, go ahead and take advantage of that promotion before it's over. All right. So if you guys have any questions, now is the time to ask. So there is the raise your hand option you can do from your GoToMeeting control panel. Just click the little hand symbol. Otherwise, if you can use the questions box, and I will be happy to answer any questions you have. Looks like we already have some in here. All right, so let's see. Questions. Looks like I have a question from, who is this from? For Donna. Donna's got a question for us. All right, Donna. So Donna's asking, she is in dispatch and it doesn't offer the load number. Is that assigned by broker? Yes, I mean your broker is going to give you a load number, a pro number, whatever they want to call it. If you want to go the route of just using the dispatches and not adding loads directly, you can set, like I mentioned, set your dispatch numbers manually and just make that your load number. So whatever your broker gives you, just set that as your dispatch number. Or you can do that in loads too if you want to do both. But you just set that. I would definitely recommend doing one or the other. I mean, setting one of those numbers to be what the broker is giving you to track by. That way, sometimes the broker might reach out to you and ask you about a specific load. They're going to use whatever number they came up with and ask you about. So it'll make it real easy to find it in the program. I hope that answers your question. If not, you can ask another one. But yeah, dispatch. It's just going to say dispatch number under dispatch. So, but you can look at that as your load number as well. It's a good question. Anybody else have a question? Let's see. Again, don't be shy using the raise your hand option. I can unmute you if you want to just ask the question. If you're not in a situation where you can type it out, we can do that as well. Otherwise, you can contact us after the webinar, and we can go over any questions you might have individually if you prefer to do that as well. We're always open to going over and doing some one-on-one training with you if that would help. Just let us know. Let's see. All right, guys. Well, if you don't have any other questions, we'll conclude our webinar for today. Let's see. This is our contact information, so if you do have questions later or some feedback for us, we love to hear from you guys. You can email us support@trucklogics.com. Our phone number here is 704-234-6946. Again, make sure to download the TruckLogics app, whether you be the owner of the account or if you have drivers. Either way, the app is really a unique tool that most other providers out there don't have for you. It's something you can use on the road to kind of help you manage things. We've updated the app now where you can even add loads and you can add dispatches directly through the app. So you don't even have to get on a computer to do some of the data entry stuff, and you can assign it to drivers directly from the app and communicate back and forth with the drivers all in the app. And really, you would only be dealing with your invoicing through the website at this point. So definitely check out the app if you have not. We're continuing to grow the app and add more features to it, and eventually we want everything to really kind of be under the app side of the program. You don't have to ever leave the app or from your mobile phone. So check that out, and then definitely refer your friends. A lot of our clients come just from referrals, and we appreciate that. So if you have anybody you think could benefit from the program, send them our way. We're happy to help them out. And then just make sure to follow our blog. We have a nice blog series. We try to go over common things that come up in the industry, questions you guys might have. Make sure to follow us there and on social media. And just again, before we go, my name is Brian. It's our contacts again. Don't forget we're running the promotional code that ends tomorrow, Thanks20. Get you 20% off your monthly subscription if you haven't already subscribed. So if you're interested, please do take advantage of that. And then any questions, just feel free to reach out to us. And I want to thank you guys for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.